Howdy friends, Bevan Cohen here, and today at Small House Farm, we're inoculating our logs to grow some shiitake mushrooms.
How do mushrooms grow?
To give you a really simple answer, we could think of the spores of the mushroom kind of like seeds, right? So we're planting the spores into these logs here. And as the wood decomposes and breaks down, that's where the mushroom gets its nutrients from. And that's what's going to cause it to grow inside of the log as it decomposes. And then the mushroom itself is the fruiting body. Almost you could think of it like a flower, right? It's the fruiting body that's going to come out of the log, and that's what we're going to harvest, while the mushroom itself grows on the inside. And then those mushrooms do drop spores, but those shiitake spores aren't going to grow anything out here in the woods. It's a pretty delicate mushroom, and it really needs the special care that we give it when we cultivate it here in our little mushroom farm. All right, so the first thing that we have to do is gather our equipment. Of course, we're going to need our logs. Now, these you saw us cut in an earlier video. I'll put a link down in the comments to the video if you want to see how we select our wood. But the key here is for growing shiitakes, we need hardwood. So that's what we've got, and we got them at 3 to 4 foot lengths. We're going to need our drill and a very specific bit. Now this is a bit that you can get right from your mushroom spore supplier. The holes that it makes are exactly the size that we need for filling with our spores. So that's going to take us to the next thing that we need, of course, is our spores. What we've got here is a mix of mushroom mycelium. This is for the shiitake, mixed with sawdust. And it's kept in this bag, and we're going to essentially plug our holes full of this sawdust, and that's how we're going to grow our mushrooms. In order to do this, we need this special tool right here. It's the packer. Now you can see on one end it's hollow, and then it's got a plunger on this end. We're simply going to pack it full, line it up over our hole, pack it in, right? Nice tight pack, filling this hole with all of the spores and sawdust, but we need to cover this up. So the next thing that we're going to need, of course, is our wax. We use a food grade cheese wax, and you can get this right from your mushroom supplier as well. I'm going to put a link down in the comments to our mushroom supplier in Wisconsin, Field and Forest Products. They're going to be able to provide you with everything that you need, high quality stuff, and very reasonable prices. And we got a hot plate here that we're using to keep it warm. We want to make sure that we regulate our heat there. If the wax gets too hot, it's going to start to smoke. So we want to keep an eye on it just to make sure it stays liquid, but not too cool that it solidifies. And then a couple old paint brushes that we're using here to apply the wax. Once you use these brushes for wax, just like all this other equipment, this is its job for the rest of its life. The reason that we use this wax now is to seal this off. This is going to keep the moisture out of here, but it's also going to stop other mushroom spores from other species getting into our log and competing with our shiitakes, right? So we're going to go through here, drill our holes, pack in our sawdust, cover it with wax. It's as easy as that. Let me show you how to drill the holes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill my holes in a row right down this log. About 4 inches apart, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Now you can see this bit that we're using is just right. It's going to give me just the right size hole, but with the stopper is going to make sure I don't go too deep as well. Then we're going to turn our log just a bit. We're going to create a diamond pattern in a way. So I turn the log until I can just kind of see the holes on the edge, and then I'm going to do the opposite. There we go. And once we're all the way around the log, we're ready to move on to step number 2. All right, now step number 2, once we got our holes drilled, we're going to go through and fill it with our spores. Real simple stuff. We're going to use our packing tool, get it nice and filled up with the spawn in there, line it up with our hole like I showed you, bang it in. Move on to the next one. Now you want to make sure that you get that hole relatively filled all the way. Nice and tight. Then we want to cover it up with our wax. Give it a good seal, protect it from the elements. And then we're just going to keep on going, repeat as needed, all the way around this log until we're done. It's also important when you're doing this that you wear some old clothes, or that you're very careful about getting the wax on you, or not getting the wax on you, I should say, because if you do, it will never come off. So just like these brushes that we're using are dedicated tools that will only be for wax, I try to only wear clothes dedicated for wax application, just in case I get a little messy. All right, looks like this one's done. Let's take it over to the mushroom farm. All right, so we're gonna bring our logs over here and lean them up against these poles. This is the mushroom farm where we grow our shiitakes. These logs are gonna lean up like this all year long until winter comes, and then we're going to put them back in that log cabin fashion for the winter like I showed you in the previous video. These mushrooms that we're inoculating today are likely to produce their first flush of mushrooms next spring. It's going to take a while for the mycelium to colonize this log and get that mushroom fruiting. But these other logs from previous years should start producing any time now. As a matter of fact, on some of these old oaks over here, we can already see some little baby shiitakes starting to grow. Let's go over there and check it out. Oh yeah, look at this, right here. All along the log, you can see little tiny baby shiitakes peeking out. And we got some warm weather coming up and some rain towards the end of the week. So I'm gonna bet by next week, we're gonna be picking our first flush of mushrooms for the year, which is one of the sure signs of spring, right? Very exciting stuff. These logs have been producing for 3 years now, and they could easily produce up to 8 to 10 years, giving us mushrooms for a long, long time. So what you can see we've done here is we've taken some young trees and essentially made them into poles, and we've lashed them from one tree to the next to kind of give us something to lean these logs up against, right? You can kind of fashion this any way that's going to work for you, but the key is you want your mushroom logs, your little mushroom farm, to be out in the woods, away from the direct sun, you know, in a nice shady place, but where it still has access to get rained on and that sort of thing. Think about the natural environment that a mushroom's going to want to grow in. That's where you're going to want to put your mushroom logs. All right, well, we got a bit of work left to do. This is the last of the logs, and then we're going to be done with our mushroom inoculation for the year. But as you can see, even though shiitakes are pretty exotic and they fetch a high price at the market, growing your own shiitakes at home is a very easy thing to do. A little bit of work right now is going to pay off for years to come. All right, thanks everybody, and happy mushroom growing.